What's going on, guys? What's going on, everybody? Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans, to the Clippers, and they were bullying Paul George. They were bullying Paul George, and I am going to say this. I am going to say this. This wasn't like the booze. I don't think this was not like a good cheering like it was for LeBron James when he returned to the Cavs. I would say it was probably not like a return to that, like Paul George going back to OKC. There was cheers. Paul George going to Indiana probably was cheers. I think the Clippers were more harsh on Paul George, more certainly. They were harsh on Paul George, more certainly, because of the way that the way that Paul George left the Clippers. And it wasn't like the same way LeBron left the Cavs, where it wasn't the same way like LeBron left the Cavs the first time around. Um, it wasn't like that way. I think when you're a fan of a team and you got an NBA star like a Paul George, like a LeBron James, like a Giannis, I think Clippers fans were a little bit harsh on Paul George here because Paul George is a good player. Paul George is a NBA caliber player, and this wasn't like Paul George coming back and was like, oh, Paul George is going to score 20. Paul George is going to do score 20, score 18. As long as you do that, you're going to have a decent game. And this wasn't, like I said, like LeBron's first return to Cleveland the first time when he played with the Miami Heat. Like, Paul George is going to be he's already a Hall of Famer. Um, he's going to be a good NBA player. He's already an amazing NBA player. And I think with Paul George not getting cheers from the six from the Clippers, why would you boo a guy that spent 4 or 7 years with that team? Like, I get you're going to get cheers. I get that you're not going to get cheers, but why would you do that if Paul George did everything he could have done for the Clippers? Could have done everything he could have done for the Clippers. Like, he got the Clippers to a conference finals. He tried to do everything for the Clippers. And I think in free agency before Paul George chose the Sixers, I think he wanted to stay a Clipper. But with Paul George's return, Like, he did have 18 points. I think with Paul George, it's he wants to win a championship. He wants to win a championship. And we can't like give somebody we can give somebody cheers and give somebody cheers and give somebody cheers and then not and then some not cheers because he did all the things for the Clippers. Like, people need to recognize when an NBA player, a WNBA player an NFL player does all that they could do for that team. And yeah, some fans will cheer, some fans will not cheer for them. But my whole point is that they did everything. Paul George did everything that he could have done for the Clippers, and we need to start seeing that. We need to start seeing where we have LeBron James, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, and um, Michael Jordan and Michael Jordan and Magic and all of those guys. Paul George should be in that conversation of GOATs, the GOAT conversation. And so should Iverson. I think Paul George is a good fit, for the 76ers. He looks like a good fit, and I think with that Sixers big three, like, that team could honestly win a championship, but right now with Embiid coming back from his suspension and Maxey out for the Sixers, like, Maxey will be back probably at the Maxey will be back at the beginning of probably somewhere at the season, in the middle of the season, because Maxey was bowling with Paul George. Like, Paul George and Maxey were bowling together, and I think with Paul George's return, it wasn't like LeBron James's return the first time in Cleveland. It wasn't like LeBron James's first return back to the Cavs. It wasn't like that. Um, it wasn't like that. But I think Paul George's return, like, I think he knew he was going to get boos. I mean, get not that cheers from the Clippers fan base. Because when you gave all that you could to a team like the Clippers, when you gave all that you could to a team like the Clippers, you have to say that this team could that team, Paul George gave that team all that he could do in the NBA. I mean, that team that he gave the Clippers all that he could in the NBA. All that he could. He gave that team all that he could. Because that Clippers team made a conference finals in the bubble. And yeah, we can say Paul George scored 18 points in his return. He's still a good fit on this 76ers team. He's still a good fit on this 76ers team. I'm not knocking off that. But when you look at it, you can say, hey, he was a good fit. He was a good fit on the Clippers because he had Kawhi and other pieces. But he has a better chance to win a championship. He has a better chance to win a championship in the East than the West because the West is so tough to win. But guys, sub if you're new and never give up your dreams. And I hope all of you guys are safe out there and stay blessed, everybody, and peace.